G'day, Chris Walker here, and today we're talking about nature and you. Uh, there's a lot of work being written recently about the nature deficit disorder, and it's implying that the true soul or the true heart or the true humanity of a human being gets lost when they get separated from nature. And what we do quite often when we get separated from nature, we gravitate to what I call the four substitutes. The four substitutes are food, um, and substances, um, greed, which means trying to be in control of everything, um, sexuality and sex, and spirituality, which is trying to escape the mystery of life. I think it's not a really healthy way to operate separated from nature. And what I'd like to do is just show you a few examples, what I think are ways that you can include nature in your work. So this presentation is about working with nature in mind. Um, and I think what has been proven across the board through a galaxy of studies, and I'm not going to go through them all here, it's easy to Google, um, that the connection between human performance in the workplace and and nature is unequivocally validated. It's been known forever by the yogis and the Buddhists and what have you of the world, and the Christians and the Muslims. But the thing is, it got lost. And we've built our ivory towers made of steel and concrete, and we've built our cars made of lovely metals and everything. But it seems all of those things harvest a particular aspect of a human being, which is the mind and the ego. And therefore, what we're needing to do is to incorporate a little bit of nature in everything we do, so that we don't lose touch with that human aspect of ourselves, and therefore start becoming dependent on relationships, becoming dependent on work, becoming dependent on substances, becoming dependent on spirituality for our integrity. And our integrity comes from having a sense of purpose in the world greater than ourselves. And that's what I think we really all are looking for, in some sense, is a meaning to our life. And there are temporary meanings and permanent ones. And I think by having a love for nature, we engage with the permanent ones. So let's have a look at a few things in this regard. So why take nature breaks? Well, it's been validated that you get smarter. Studies in Japan show that IQ gains, as well as logic, intuition, problem-solving skills, increase quite substantially from just a 10-minute nature walk. Second thing is you get creative, and that and studies in Australia that can measure creativity show that just by going out into nature and coming back from nature, people are reconnect to some part of themselves, some part of the brain, some part of the physiology that makes them more creative, so that makes them better at solving problems, which isn't, and I guess that is really a core element to having a greater life. Finally, on this page, you smell nicer, and in a blind study of 10,000 people in the US, a 10-minute nature walk was directly reflected in positive direction by others detection. And so what they're basically saying is people can sort of tell that you've been around or in or out in nature when they're around you. So the blind study took people out, brought them back, and then asked other people whether they detected anything affirmative or not, and then they got another group and they didn't take them out and brought them back and asked the same question. And by far the categoric validation was those who'd gone out to nature, spent a little bit of time out there and came back, oozed and smelt and tasted and felt better. So there's three big benefits just by going out and sitting under a tree for 5 minutes. So nature breaks at work are really important because they help you think clearer. Your vision expands, you become more user-friendly, you reconnect and you're more open-hearted, and you become more creative. But not only that, it converts into action. You act. It's shown that people who go out into nature act with more kindness, act with more generosity, you have more energy, you have unbridled enthusiasm, which is youthfulness in a sense, and you act with total confidence. And I know this because my work for 35 years has been taking people to nature. People are different in nature, and they're different because the way they behave is different. It's not just the way they think, but the way they behave. The way you see a person behave once they've been in nature for a couple of days or up in the Himalayas for 3 or 4, they start to be a completely fresh and better version of themselves that you meet when they've just come out of the grind, so to speak. So how do you take nature breaks at work? Well, it's really simple. You go outside or look out the window and you look for these things. You see nature's balance. You see the balance in nature. And look for it actively. Don't just let it come to you. You must actively go out and chase it. So look for nature's balance. Like a tree, 2 branches of a tree going either direction, or the birth and death of leaves, or the rise of the sun and the sinking of the moon. Look for nature's balance and be inspired by that. Second thing is to feel nature's growth. In other words, to actually get in touch with and have a sense of, in your own being, the growth that's taking place around you in nature. And that can include buildings, of course, because they're all part of nature. The next one is to be connected. And to be connected, most of us are visual, but the primal sense that was developed first in a human being was the sense of touch. So one of the great ways to feel connected to nature is to go and touch it, to manhandle or woman-handle a leaf or a tree or a branch or some part of nature. To just touch it is part of the whole process of taking a nature break. And the last one is to experience the harmony of nature, to sort of get the vibe of it, to try and let that come through into your being. Now, so it really leads to 3 simple statements. Go outdoors, experience nature, and think nature. Think balance, growing, connected, and harmony. Now, they've proven that even a screensaver with a nature picture on it impacts the performance of an individual at work. So I strongly suggest that what I'm saying here is to incorporate nature into your self-leadership, self-management, relationship management, energy management system, and make it a daily discipline, part of your power hour, because it really does make a huge impact for very little cost. This is Chris Walker. Have a beautiful day. Bye for now.